All right, guys, what is up? This is Cam. We had a little bit of a mishap happen with this episode. We're not for sure what happened. It was something with our software that we were using to record. There's a little bit of an echo, especially on my mic, a little bit on Dalt's as well. But we couldn't figure out what was going on with it in the time that we had. So we're going to go ahead and upload it. And if we figure out what's going on, we'll end up deleting this version of the video and uploading the more clear audio. Hopefully, though, it still doesn't ruin the video for you guys, and I hope you guys still enjoy it. Wanted to get this video out as quickly as possible due to the recent events and things that have happened with Punk, because we're both really big fans, and we wanted to basically do a tribute episode about him, wishing him a speedy recovery from injury. So yeah, guys, I still hope you enjoy, and everything's good. We recorded some other episodes right after, and the audio sounded fine, so hopefully those will not be won't have any issues like this one did, but still, nonetheless, I hope you all enjoy, and I will see you guys in the next video. Welcome, everyone, back to the PWP, the Pro Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Cameron.
I'm Dalton, your other host.
And today we're going to be doing a little bonus episode. We wanted to talk about this because one of our all-time favorite wrestlers recently got injured after what was going to be a massive push, that being CM Punk. We were going to get the Summer of Punk 3, and it was going to be amazing.
Summer of Punk.
But yeah, we just
before it began.
Yeah, it's so sad. But we wanted to do a special episode, wishing him well and hoping that he has a really speedy recovery and he comes back like he said in his
Those
promo.
wheels ain't off the wagon.
No, yeah, like he said in the promo, he's gonna come back bigger and better than ever and faster than ever. Like I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. So with Punk, he's a true journeyman in a lot of ways. I mean, we got to talk about ROH, which is crazy to think if not being injured, we could have seen some rematches from ROH now with arguably these guys in their primes. Joe, Bryan Danielson. Yeah. Like, oh man.
I'm glad he did the right thing and was like, I don't want to hold anybody back.
Yeah. But I think that opens the doors for so many great storylines when he does come back.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
I really love my all-time favorite ROH Punk match is the Bryan Danielson match. It's epic, and the handshake at the end was great. Like the respect that you see from those two is great, and I really want to see a rematch of that at some point. He also did some TNA stuff, but yeah, that didn't really go anywhere. I forget what it was. I can't remember if it was just issues backstage or what, but it was a very short-lived time in TNA.
Fist fights in the parking
lot. Which then led to, I'm pretty sure Punk was in OVW for a little bit before doing ECW. And then, of course, that being when he signed with WWE, and he went to the WWE CW brand.
That man conquered ECW.
He was the best thing about WWE CW, honestly. Like, I mean, really, when it comes to people, that was the best of that era of ECW. And he felt like somebody that would have been in ECW, like classic ECW.
Arguably another Rob Van Dam type figure, just a whole lot more.
Oh, most definitely
successful.
Yeah, very charismatic and
very successful.
Yeah,
right, but
very great in the ring. Then when he went to what you really could say the main roster, because ECW at that time was not truly the main roster. We had the amazing Money in the Bank. He won it the first year at 24, I think, and then won it again at 25. I think it's either that or he won it at 23 and then 24, but I think it was 24 and then 25, but he won back-to-back, and that was the first time that had ever happened. And, I mean, Punk with the briefcase was just great. You had the storyline after that, though, once he had won the world title, where
a very fast world title push.
Yeah, very fast, but then it ended pretty abruptly. The thing that I always
Straight Edge
remember,
Society.
yeah, Straight Edge Society was amazing. The thing that I always remember from the long hair punk era, as I like to call it, they teased a punk Stone Cold match, and it was so cool. Like if that would have happened, that would have been epic. Obviously, it never did, but just imagining the promos that could have been cut, because that's the thing. Not only is Punk amazing in the ring, and you could even make an argument that Punk, for the modern era of this indie-rific, quote-unquote, style of wrestling, Punk is very average in that style. But what puts Punk above all others in terms of that is the promos. This man can, I mean, it's like gold every time he speaks, and it's iconic. Just so many different promos that he could cut in different styles. Like Dalt said, the Straight Edge Society stuff, the way that he cut promos in that Charles Manson
character, or if he was just Phil.
Yeah,
It didn't really matter.
Yeah, and that's another thing. You never knew
what was going to come out.
Yeah, that is loose cannon.
It's a big influence on a lot of modern, like for example MJF. That whole storyline. I mean, behind the scenes, you think like, who else is going to drop a pop bomb like that?
Yeah, and it was. Is it better than Punk's pipe bomb?
I don't think it's as iconic as Punk's. I think it's going to be forgot about a little bit easy. Like, I don't think it'd ever be forgot about, but
I think it's
a lot of AEW stuff is a lot more forgettable because there is so much going on.
Yeah,
in AEW.
Plus AEW allows you the freedom.
It's expected out of MJF to do something like that, to follow in those footsteps.
And AEW gives you the freedom to do something like that, whereas in WWE, when Punk cut the pipe bomb,
nobody expected it, even though it was like a planned thing.
But it's one of those things where it's like
he blurred the lines.
Yeah, did Punk just mention Colt Cabana on WWE? Oh my God, did he just mention ROH and New Japan? This has never been done. This is insane. And, just like he said in it, oops, I'm breaking the fourth wall. Like, that was crazy. That we've never seen that.
Punk is the Deadpool of wrestling.
Yeah. And,
except for when he does a buckshot lariat and breaks his leg. But
there's just so many great things that the man could do. What are some of, like, your favorite matches that just come to mind? Or feuds, if you can't pinpoint an exact match. Feuds or matches that you love with Punk.
I mean, I always think back, like, a lot of stuff I watched. Like, I didn't have a chance to watch it as a child, but, going back and watching it on YouTube when I was a teenager and stuff. A lot of his ROH matches, like, the Samoa Joe, like, all those matches were just, they were monumental for wrestling. They set a curve for people to follow.
Yeah, I feel like those matches are what kind of started
like
that whole...
The Money in the Bank matches themselves. He was
so
a person
good.
that looked like a star in the ring in a ring full of talented people.
Mm-hmm. And for me, you cannot talk about Punk without talking about the Jeff Hardy feud.
Oh, yeah.
The world title feud, oh my God. You had two guys...
Very controversial feud, to say the least.
Two guys that were complete polar opposites of each other.
Was that Jeff's, was that the career versus title match?
That was the ending of the feud, was with the steel cage, where if Punk won, Jeff had to retire, or at least leave WWE for the time being. And that's when Jeff said, this isn't goodbye forever, this is just goodbye for now. And he was gone for 10 years? 9 years, something like that, from WWE. But that whole feud, you had two complete polar opposites when it comes to not only in-ring style, but also their lifestyles behind the scenes.
And they're both equally as crazy. What they do in the ring.
That's the thing, is they're so different that they're alike. They're the type of people that just...
meshes very well.
Just from their personalities, how they are, the fans love them.
Their end goals were the same, while their styles their way up was completely different.
Yeah, and obviously they didn't completely straight out say it, but it was essentially a man who was straight edge, who would never drink, who would never do drugs, versus a man who
had a rough history.
Who liked to explore the imagination, as Punk put it in the one promo on SmackDown. In my opinion, one of the most underrated streak matches, Punk versus Taker. Oh, it's so good. And honestly, at the time, I kind of wanted Punk to win.
Yeah, it would have been a really good thing if he won. But like, I don't know.
Punk,
It just it felt right for him
did.
to win.
It did.
As him, he's the one all the fans are behind.
Mhm.
He was like, even though he wasn't necessarily, I'd call it baby face.
Yeah.
He's always been more neutral, whether he's a heel or whatever.
He's just so captivating that
Yeah.
even when he's trying to be a heel, you can't.
Everybody cheered him.
Yeah.
He was like the John Cena that wasn't. So, like the Cena done right.
Yeah.
But he had made himself. He wasn't just pushed to the moon.
The thing that I loved.
Never got that WrestleMania moment.
Yeah. The thing that I loved from that feud, though, one of the most iconic images, in my opinion, on WWE TV of the modern era, I'll say, or semi-modern era, the 2010s era, is Punk holding Paul Bearer's urn with Paul Heyman. And he's holding it, and then he opens the urn up and smears the kayfabe ashes of Paul Bearer onto his face. It's like, damn, you are insane, and you have no idea what you have just caused because you awoken something in the dead man that I don't think anybody ever has.
And Paul Bearer would have loved that.
Yeah, that was the thing.
He would have loved that.
That was the thing.
He probably wished it was real ashes.
Yeah, that was the thing. If it wasn't something that I feel like was done by Punk and Taker, it would have felt tasteless. But because it was Punk, because Punk was so good, and because Paul Bearer loved wrestling, I feel like it was a perfect way to. It was almost as if even though he's gone, he'll never be forgotten.
Yeah.
Because
it was an ode to Paul Bearer
Yeah.
at the same time.
I mean,
it wasn't just like straight up. Like the angle itself was something that would have come out of Paul Bearer's mind.
It really did feel like something that, I mean, one of the biggest matches of the year was a feud started over a dead man's ashes.
Yeah.
Like, he lived on through that feud, and it was amazing because of it.
I guess in retrospect, that start kind of was a setup for Punk to lose.
Yeah.
I mean, who's going to get away with that? But at the same time, imagine if he did win.
At least in the storyline, though,
You're not going to bury the Undertaker if you win.
It became
unless literally.
It became one of those things where in the storyline, even though I felt like if anyone was going to beat Taker, there's two people that always come to mind. Well, three, arguably.
It should have been a rematch.
Yeah.
It should have been like a Punk's redeemed himself, but here he is to prove himself.
The only three people that I've ever legitimately said, yes, they should beat Taker, beat the streak, is Punk, Randy, and Bray Wyatt. Those are the only three guys that I feel like believably and deservedly could have taken the streak.
Canonically, Bray would have made the most sense.
Canonically speaking, yes.
Fan
because
base
of the
wise,
storyline.
Punk.
Yeah.
And Randy, just because it's Randy.
Yeah, I mean, he was the legend killer.
Yeah, it made sense.
How are you going to be the legend killer without killing the legend, the man?
Punted him.
But yeah, but I gotta talk about it. Punk leaving was kind of sad. Before he left, we did get that amazing after the pipe bomb. We did get the amazing match between him and Cena. Everybody says Cena's not that great of a worker, but Punk, if you want to still say Cena's not a great worker, Punk brought it out of him, and I mean they literally had a 5-star classic, and just that image of Punk holding the world title. Sorry about that. Punk holding the world title and giving the kiss.
Blowing the kiss.
That was the most amazing moment ever.
John Cena completely robbing Rey Mysterio of a WWE championship.
And then he comes back and holds it, and we'll get back into that when we talk about the AEW stuff and where we think it's going to go when he comes back. But then, the summer of Punk was sadly, just to put it bluntly, it was awful. You had matches against Ryback and supposed to be Kevin Nash, and stuff went bad there, so I think it was Triple H. And then he after Rumble, he just kind of was done with the treatment. He was injured, and WWE was like, "Oh no, you're good." And because of that, he left after Rumble. He was fired, and then he was done with wrestling. And we really thought he was done with wrestling. It was not something where it's like, "Oh yeah, he'll come back someday." No, it really did feel like he was done.
And here we are. It was 7 years later.
Let's see, 2014, I think. So
2021.
Yeah, 7 years later. I gotta be honest though, this era of Punk where he just started doing his own stuff, like obviously the UFC stuff that didn't pan out. He worked for Marvel for a while. Did you know that he actually was? I don't think he did the illustration, but I do know he wrote Drax for a while, which is so funny because Batista plays Drax in the MCU. But I hated Punk because of this.
WWE. Fox.
I'm not like I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the teenage angst because I was 14, 15, 16 at the time, but the fact that we
missed him so much, we hated him.
Yeah, to me, he didn't leave WWE. He left us. You know, we were his fans, and why? I mean, yes, WWE was treating him awful, but he could have went so many other places. He could have done so many different things.
When you think about it, like if you're willing to take that much flack from your fans, that shows how bad the work environment was for you.
Exactly.
It was just, if it was that bad, then like, imagine how bad it is today.
Exactly. But then, the thing that just, you remember, we were at work talking about if Punk comes back if Punk makes his return to wrestling in AEW. I was like, I don't really care if he comes back. I don't want him to come back. He left.
I walked in one day and you said, "Oh my God, Punk's in AEW. Punk's in AEW.
Yeah.
Punk's in AEW."
I was a complete sourpuss about it, and then it happened. The night happened. Cult of Personality hits. The biggest pop, in my opinion, since Stone Cold. Punk comes out, and the fans are just roaring. You would have thought. I would guess that was maybe a 20,000 fan venue, maybe a little bit less.
It was Chicago, so it was up there.
Yeah, maybe a little less than 20,000, but roughly, you would have thought it was WrestleMania. You would have thought there were 70,000 people in that venue when you heard how loud it got when Cult of Personality. Yeah, men crying, not little kids crying, grown ass adults crying over this guy, and then he came back, and he wasn't a part-timer. He was
working, just about. I mean, at first it was a little slower. You get a match maybe every
week. But you got to build that Punk match.
Then he started, every week. Yeah. He was out there doing something. You could tell he loved it. But I think it just kind of caught up to him a little bit.
Yeah, it's when you go...
You're not used to it, but he just took it on so fast because how much he loved it. You could tell he didn't want to leave wrestling.
Yeah, when you go...
It's just, he didn't have that love for it because of how he was treated.
Yeah, when you go that long without wrestling, things are going to catch up to you. The rust... He didn't have ring rust, but his body probably was feeling the rust.
It was one of those ordeals when you're like, as a kid, you play a lot of basketball, but then when you get older and you have a job, so you're about 25, you go out and try and play shoot a few hoops. You're playing good, and all of a sudden you're out of breath.
Hey, don't make fun of Brandon. Shout out to Brandon if you're watching. We love you, buddy.
Yeah, don't worry. We love you.
That's our friend that watches the podcast. For anybody wondering, this random name drop.
Actually going to help us on it a little bit.
Yeah, he's wanting to. So, yeah, shout out to you, Brandon, if you watch this episode. That wasn't a dig at you. It was a dig at you, but that's okay.
It's okay.
But, yeah.
It's just an angle, buddy.
But, yeah.
Not a Kurt.
He was doing amazing though, and like you said, you could tell he enjoyed it, and it's sad. It's one of the saddest injuries of recent memory, just because every week
it was just getting started, and that Hangman match was so good.
It was
I could
great.
Tell, I mean, once the tag team match, at first I was like, oh man, Punk ain't looking too hot. I was like, I can't tell if he's just bossing or what the deal is. Everybody was insulting him and. Something just didn't seem right, and you can kind of tell when he went for the enziguri that he just there's a reason he pulled on it a little bit. It just, like I said earlier, like too many buckshot lariat attempts can hurt a man who's that old, who's never done it before.
As good as that match was, and we've talked a lot about some of the other stuff that Punk's done, with Jeff and Cena and things like that, but by far, my favorite match I think that I've ever seen Punk in happened in AEW. MJF dog
collar match.
The story, the build, the blood, like it's
built to this whole. I love that you got MJF calling Tony a mark.
Yes.
Now. And it's a set, even though Punk's out, it's a set up a perfect story for him to come back.
That's what me and Dalt were talking about.
MJF's on this kick where Tony's a mark because he likes the big guys, like, basically just trying to compare him to Vince. If it's not a work, then it's a little odd, but it's obviously a work.
That's what made it so exciting is that
you got Wardlow and this whole ordeal.
And I mean, he essentially jobbed to Wardlow, talking about MJF. He essentially did the job,
and
the
JLB.
JLB.
MJF's still going to end up on top.
Yeah.
I think that's where Punk comes in.
Yeah, that's the coolest thing is I am so sad that Punk got injured. But because of that,
storyline,
we could be on the cusp of one of the best told stories ever because Punk beat MJF. MJF the entire time was mad. He was like me. He was somebody that was...
MJF's got a few losses under his belt the past that.
Yeah.
It's still, like I said, it's building.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
And the Punk feud, like I was saying, he was like us. He was like me that was one of the fans that was like, why did you leave us? I was your biggest fan. I loved you. I loved watching you. I worshipped the ground you walked on, and you left me. And I had nothing. And then your hero beats you so decisively. Well, there was help from Wardlow, but still pretty decisively in the ring, and it set him off. Like, he went insane, and in the best possible way, because now, if I don't know who they're going to pick for the first interim champion.
Are they doing interim, or are they going to just...
Yeah, they did say it was going to be an interim champion, so whoever wins it, they are facing Punk when he comes back.
And it's going to be the same thing. It's a, like you said, like you messaged me about it. You said, this is going to be... he's going to come back, and he's going to have a belt. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be the same ordeal.
It's a perfect reflection of what happened when Punk left the WWE when he beat John Cena, and then Cena wins the title, and it's like, oh, okay, we're going to get back to Cena.
What if he recovers early and then shows up randomly like Cena did in the...
in the Rumble?
In the Rumble. That would be crazy.
See, I kind of, even if he gets cleared, I kind of want him to be gone. I kind of want him to be gone at least until...
next summer. I want a summer, even though it's a whole year without him, I want a summer of Punk. That's what I want. I don't want a winter of Punk. I want a fall of Punk. Everybody wants a summer of Punk.
Even
3.5.
I don't want to see him gone that long, but for storyline-wise, it would be so amazing if almost Punk was forgotten. And you had... I'm going to guess either Moxley or Danielson is going to be the interim champion first. And then from there... eventually,
I know Kenny's eventually like
Kenny
is somewhere in the realm of coming back very soon.
Yeah,
has to be.
But then eventually, when Punk is cleared, when Punk is healed up, no mention of Punk. I don't want any mention.
Kenny and Punk.
That would be an amazing match, though. But for storyline, for my heart, my fantasy booking is MJF. Finally overcomes the cons, finally overcomes the fans telling him that he's no good, that he's a Miz wannabe. And in a sense, he's a baby in this story that I want to see done because of everything. He's against the wall. I mean, everything is pushing and telling him he's not that good. He doesn't deserve to be a champion. He's not a CM Punk. He's not a Kenny Omega. He's not a Hangman Page. But he is. And he finally wins it. Whoever he beats doesn't matter to me personally. But he finally wins it. He's celebrating. He's crying in the ring. He's staring at the title. And then Cult of Personality hits. And you just see the fans erupt. And then, like I said, that perfect reflection of the Cena match. Punk walks to the ring. Holds up his AEW World Championship. MJF holds up his AEW World Championship. And the face-off. The match. The story. It's all there. And it is perfect if they tell it. And I really hope that that's where this goes. Because just imagine the heat. It would be iconic. It would be, for me, the modern day Rock versus Austin. The story of... will MJF ever be able to beat CM Punk? Just like it was like, will Rock ever be able to beat Austin?
Yeah.
I think it would be perfect. And that's what I'm hoping
I
for.
do look to see Punk beat MJF. Let's say MJF finally goes on this big winning spree again, right? Mm-hmm. I want Punk to win and be the champion for a while feuding with, MJF or whoever, but I eventually do want to see MJF be the one to dethrone Punk. Yes. It makes the most sense.
To christen MJF as the next big thing, to quote a Brock Lesnar moniker, but still, like, if they do it, oh man, I don't care what anyone says. MJF could be literally the equivalent to a modern day Ric Flair, in terms of heel heat, in terms of storylines. I mean, it's just, he's amazing. And Punk is the guy to make this guy the biggest star in wrestling. Without WWE, without money backing him and all this, just him in a ring against a guy proving themselves. It could be gold, just complete gold.
His rise to the top.
But talking about that, once Punk is back, once Punk is champion again, which he is champion, but once he is the champion again, what are some other matches you want to see? What are some that hasn't happened yet?
I want to see Adam Cole and CM Punk.
Oh, God, yes. Okay, I was about to say it, yeah. Cole versus Punk would be amazing.
That would be an all-time great. I wonder how Punk would sell a Panama Sunrise.
Punk and Cole are
very similar
in story, like, because of the ROH roots, the WWE roots, and just the way that it would work out would be so good. And for me, I think Cole is an underrated promo. I mean,
Cole's great on the mic.
He is.
He is.
I don't think he gets enough respect for it.
He's one of the people that, like, to me, like, when he's on the mic and he's a heel, he kind of pisses me off a little bit, but in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
He really does he brings the heat.
Yes. The one of my all-time favorite Cole promos of recent history.
He could stand up, like, in a ring with Punk, promo to promo.
Oh, yeah.
Easily.
I agree.
Like, I think, that would be a great thing. Like, it's bad. I'm more excited for the promos between them two than I would be the action.
But it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We know the matches are going to be amazing. It's just we can't imagine how amazing those promos are going to be. For me, the Adam Cole promo that solidified him as, like, yeah, he's a great promo is against Killer Cross. I refuse to call him Carrion. I hate that name that WWE gave him. But it was when they were feuding for the NXT Championship, and Cole was like, look, they have completely backed you. You have the entrance, you have the smoke, you have the fireworks, you have the girl. That you need all of that to make yourself special. Do you know what it takes to make Adam Cole special? Put me in a freaking ring, baby. It's just like, yes, that's true too. Cole, he proves himself every night that he gets in a ring that he's amazing.
Yeah.
And just like Punk does, when Punk gets in that ring,
more Danielson. Punk.
Yes, of course.
Current day Mox and Punk. Those would be great matches.
That would be. Kenny, I don't know. I don't know if they'd be able to survive it. They might kill each other.
It'd make a lot of sense.
The amount of,
as long as Punk is in good health, he isn't botching. He isn't hurt. Like, he takes a full time to recover. That would be a great. If Punk gets back to near his prime, I know he's not in his prime. Probably never will be in his prime.
Yeah.
If he gets back to that general, I'm good. I'm solid in the ring.
Yeah.
Then yeah.
And I can hear it coming out of Kenny's mouth whenever they do step in the ring. Finally, how can you call yourself the best in the world when I'm the man in this ring with a 7-star match? I mean, it's true. That is something that is always talked about. Is Kenny truly the best wrestler in the world? And I
think honestly right now he is.
Yeah, there's not a lot of arguments against it. There really isn't. Kenny's promos are a little weird.
He's just like everybody else. He gets a few. He has a few botches every now and then, but everybody does.
But he turns botches into stories
and into something
he
funny.
Sells it perfectly.
Like AJ.
Oh yeah, AJ. Yeah.
But we won't see AJ Punk.
We're talking about a lot of, sadly, we're talking about a lot of bigger names, and this guy is a big name, but he's not a big name.
There's a few, like, I think, somebody who, he needs a little christening. He's...
I hope you're talking about who I am.
No, it's not. It's Dante Martin.
Oh, okay. Dante,
he needs some christening, and I feel like Punk is such a good worker. He knows how to make people work, like he did with Darby. He made Darby work. He made Darby wrestle. And it really showed you, Darby can actually wrestle.
Yeah.
I feel like that would bring up, like, Dante needs a lot of help. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's somebody who could really be a star in the future. He's very, very young. Mm-hmm. And I feel like Punk could pull that out of him.
You already know it because I'm a mark for him, Dalt, but
Hook.
Bring Hook.
Hook don't even need help.
Let me have a Hook versus Punk match. Because Hook's thing and Punk's thing is a perfect... They have this perfect dichotomy of being polar
I don't know why he ain't called CM Hook.
Because, but seriously though, think about it. Hook doesn't cut promos. He just comes in, beats your ass, and leaves. He's not about the showboating. He's just...
I want to see Danhausen in Punk, and it makes sense. He gives Danhausen the GTS, and it would set up perfectly. Like if he beats Danhausen, here comes Big Brother Hook out here to whip up on Punk.
That would be a good way to start the Hook.
And plus,
rivalry.
we've seen Hook whip CM Punk in the ring one of the after the show here recently. I really do want to see it because a lot of people who don't know Danhausen, he comes from a little bit of the same background as Punk. He's an ROH guy.
Yeah.
And in ring, Danhausen is probably one of the best workers that they have in AEW. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't know that yet because he ain't really had time to shine. But Danhausen is by far one of the best wrestlers they have. I know he's injured still right now, but
Just picture a modern day Joe versus Punk with the fierceness of Joe, and oh man, and Joe is a freaking phenomenal promo
we don't
too.
Break Punk's back for
true.
choking him out.
True, they would have a stiff ass match, but it would be amazing. And another one for me personally, I don't know how it would be in the ring now, but I would like to see a revisit of the Punk Hardy feud. I think they could tell a good story now of basically Hardy redeeming himself of not being this guy that Punk seen him as. It's just to put it bluntly, just a druggie.
And now, Hardy's redeemed himself in the ring, and in WWE he didn't look good in the ring, but it was more so just Vince holding him back a little bit. But Hardy's back to that Hardy state. He's jumping off crap. He's doing crazy stuff. He's putting guys over. He's making guys look good. He's doing what he should be doing at his age and right now. But he's at the same time still looking like a star. Yeah. That would be another classic match. A little ode to the past.
Another match that I just thought of that would be interesting to tell if they did it right. Sadly, he's not a good promo, in my opinion. But Jake Hager versus Punk. Only because Hager's
an animal.
Yes, but think about the connection of the UFC stuff.
Yeah.
Hager is an actual MMA
and he's
fighter.
He's successful.
He's a successful MMA fighter, and Punk isn't.
It would be a good way to make Punk redeem himself from the UFC stuff.
Yeah, that could be.
Which I think Punk, he gave it his best go, and he had fun with it. That's all that matters there. I think that was more on the Dana than it was on Punk. Yeah. He knew better than to throw a random wrestler in the ring.
Yeah, with not long enough time.
And who's not big. Yeah. He's not a big dude. He can't just go out there and start swinging. Exactly. He doesn't got a lot of power behind him. I get it, the weight division, whatever, but that was on. I saw that on Dana. I don't put that on Punk. But that'd be a good way to make him redeem himself.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Situation.
Yeah. But that is all the time we have today to talk about CM Punk.
The legendary.
Yeah, we've just been really...
It's clobbering time. How has he not got a copyright infringement for that? I don't know. Maybe Batista had some say in it. Who knows?
But we've been just wanting to talk about Punk, and he's one of our favorites, like we both have been talking about, and we just really are excited to see what happens when he comes back. We're really sad that he got hurt, but
speedy recovery.
Yeah. We wish him well, and we really hope that he has a very speedy recovery. But that's going to about do it for this bonus episode of the PWP, the Pro Wrestling Podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share around the world. We will see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.